let's just continue for part 2 of the conversation, where now it's free for all. We can swear, we can do whatever we want. So I won't be airing this on the air. I don't think you swear anyway. But we can be just a little bit more relaxed, a little bit less formal. But there's so many scary points that I could pick out in the conversation that we've just had up till now. The government overreach obviously is a huge one. The misinformation in relation to the whole medical side of things is another one. And to think that the noose is not tightening more and more. But I want to bring it back to a few points you made yesterday when you did your talk for the CAN's Common Law Group. And that was, you said you did this interesting tour around Europe. And you felt that you had a gauge for the sentiment in general. Just to tell us about that a little.
Yeah. So when I left Australia, the selfish reason for going away was I love traveling. You already know that. And being locked down in Australia was really hard, of course. And I thought, being unvaccinated, I thought maybe I could never travel again, And so when things opened up, I was like, I am out of here. So I went to Europe. I bought a van, put a bed in the back, just like I did in America. And but it was much more interesting because every country is so different. But yeah, it was an amazing experience. And actually, I only got home 2 weeks ago. Like, it's really not that long ago. I left my car in Croatia. It's still there. I'm going to go back and finish next year because I refuse to travel in winter. So
okay, fair call.
I'm actually going to end up having about 2 years of summer.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway,
welcome to Cairns.
Yeah, that's right. So that's why I'm here. But anyway, I didn't know exactly what I would learn or get out of my trip to Europe, but I just knew I would get something out of it because it's very inspiring to meet new people. Now, I have an international database, so I have about 75,000 emails across the world outside of Australia. And so I was able to message, I would email like just one country and say, I'm coming, do you want to have an event? And I can come and speak to people. And I had 23 events across 16 countries. The most events I had obviously was in London because English speaking, easy. Anyway, so I did get to meet personally at least over, I would say 11 to 1,200 freedom loving people from all different cultures. Of course, we hugged and broke bread together and spent time together. I stayed at people's houses and, just lots of salt of the earth type of experiences with all types of different people and cultures. And so I can make generalizations about what we loosely call the freedom movement now. So I'll just keep that going. It's not what I thought I would get out of it necessarily, but I do have new content because of it. And because of my lifestyle, I don't think many people can do what I do, because if you've got children, you can't just jump in a car and drive around Europe for 6 months. So I get to do that, and it's unique. But anyway, so the 3 main things I want to say about my experience in Europe is that, one, the people in the freedom movement are uniquely similar. And what I mean by that is we're all unique, but we're all very similar. And what I also mean by that is that you can't pick us out from the crowd because we're very average people. Now, obviously we shouldn't always judge a book by its cover, but we do, we're humans. And I'm just saying that hardly anyone has weird piercings or crazy tattoos or coloured hair. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm just telling you what I observed. Now, some movements, you can pick people out from the crowd very easily, and you know the kinds of movements I'm talking about. You cannot do that with the freedom movement. And what I found is that all over the world that I've seen so far, we all pretty much look the same. We're pretty normal people, and we just want a better life for ourselves and for others. And we're really nice people. There's crazy people in every group, in every church, in every grade school, in every classroom. There's crazy people in every group. It's just humans, right? So of course there's crazies too. But generally speaking, we're really nice, genuine, loving people who just want a better life. And that made me really proud to be a part of this movement, because sometimes we question that because we might see mainstream media, talking about other people or there's infighting, and we see people that we respected acting really weird, and we start to question where the movement's going. But trust me, you get into those rooms with those people face to face and your love for this community will grow. That's one thing. So I'm proud to be a part of the movement. Number 2, people that were silent the first time around when we experienced this global crisis of COVID, they won't be silent next time because they regret not being silent. they regret not being
standing
loud.
up.
Yeah. People who maybe took the jab or did things that they were against their integrity because they thought they had no choice, they will not do that again because they experienced the terrible time of doing that. They also saw other people standing up and they saw them being blessed because of that. They saw their lives being better. They saw them becoming stronger people, and they want some of that. So next time they have an opportunity to stand up, they're going to be new energy. And maybe the people like me who was on the front line before, maybe will take a side step or a back step next time there's a global crisis, because this new energy is going to be fierce. So number 2, the people who are quiet regret it. They're not going to be quiet next time. Number 3, I definitely feel less fear amongst the freedom movement. I carry this band on me. It says, "We are ready." And it just reminds me that, like, if I see a bad headline or something, I just look at this and I'm like, okay, big deal. Like, we are ready. We'll just deal with it. There's really only 2 options. We can be enslaved and manipulated by tyrants and the government, or we can push against it. We've already decided we're going to push against it, so we may as well just pretend we're ready, even if we're not. So the point is that there's less fear. People understand that fear is used to control and manipulate people. And because we are so well networked now, the fact that I can go to Croatia and have an event with 50 people is insane, right? We are networked so well that we are actually definitely ready compared to when COVID happened. So we shouldn't be afraid. We should actually be excited to see what we're made of when we need to be ready, So yeah, the third thing is people are less afraid than they used to be.
Excellent. And there's a few things there. We talk about the truth movement. I actually don't really know what that is. People are people as far as I'm concerned. And again, when I've interviewed different people across different areas, and some of them lean in this direction, that direction. It doesn't matter. We don't, I think, have to agree with everything everybody says.
No.
But we can find gold in so many people as well. I think there's people who are working against humanity, like those in positions of power and in politics. But for people who are standing in their truth, and I guess that's what you mean by the truth movement, we don't have to share our truths exactly. I'm sure there's plenty of areas that we would not align with, but that doesn't mean to say that our desire to kind of help humanity is real, and we want to try and do that. So I think that's a very important point.
Genuine intention.
Genuine
that
intention.
Covers it all.
Yeah.
Like if you're doing whatever you're doing because you want money or power, that's not genuine intention. But if you're doing it because you want to help humanity, even if you're doing it wrong, you're always going to end up with a net positive because you have that genuine intention. And so again, it's about respecting each other's reasons for doing things. And you can always find common ground with people even if you disagree. And I think there's this weird sentiment out there that if someone disagrees with you on an important topic, that you just can't be friends anymore. And that was never there before.
And that, I think, has been deliberately inserted into society by the powers that be. And we've been trained for that in schools. The binary choice, or the little tick boxes. If it's not this, it has to be this. There's no room for nuance. And I think that's been a deliberate creation of the education system, and especially the college system. But a couple of more little points to, if I can remember what they were, that you maybe kind of consider, was also, I think, just following your truth and following your purpose is really important. Things will flow in a different direction. And we've got mental health, for example. I mean, I'm in the area of health, that is being really seriously challenged. And I think one of the themes that I'm hearing in your story is that you weren't certain about your future. You weren't certain about how brave you might be. You weren't certain about if you could carry, I guess, a certain movement. But you still listened to that call and you did it. And as a result, you went through your hardships. But by going through those hardships without fear has put you in a very interesting place now that seems to be quite good.
Yeah, it's working out for me. I think I have this saying that doing the right thing is always the right thing to do. And it's simple, but it's true. And even if, you do something that will cause you pain, if it is what you believe, you cannot lose.
Once you see it, you're kind of compelled, aren't you?
And we've all been in that situation where we've been triggered by something. Maybe it's 3 o'clock in the morning and we get this thought in our heads that maybe we could do this, or maybe we could help that person, or maybe we could influence this situation. And we go, oh, I can't bother, or whatever like that, and then it digs at you, right? It eats away at you. I've had tons of regrets in my life, and I've made lots of mistakes, and I've hurt myself more than anything, to be honest. And I know what it's like to not live with integrity. and it sucks. It sucks. Even if you've got the pleasures of life or whatever, it just sucks. Doing like what you believe in is so rewarding. You just can't, like, it feels better than drugs. It feels better than sex, drugs, alcohol, all that combined. Doing the right thing is electrifying.
Sometimes it's annoying though, because I think one of the things that I identify with is now that we see the world a little bit differently, especially in relation to truth, we've got to hold ourselves to a higher standard, and we can't. It is a little bit of a burden, and I found myself, in situations where I could have benefited.
Yeah.
I don't know where I've seen something, maybe $20. I can't remember. There's about 5 or 6 situations where I've just gone, wow, and I've gone, shit, that's not mine, and I've had to, either pick something up and give it to somebody, or donated money to charity or whatnot. But you just are like, if I'm kind of putting all this stuff out there, you've got to walk the walk as well.
Yeah.
And so that I find that quite interesting.
Being a bigger person really frustrates me sometimes. Yeah. Really frustrates me. I remember with the referendum recently, I don't know if you remember that AEC came out and basically told people how they could vote more than once.
Yeah.
Right? And I have this suspicion that I'm just going to say the left because it's easier to say. The left are more likely to do that because they would justify that because the reason is so important for them. And then people like us, we wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And I almost made a post about and I was going to try to be like nuanced, but I was basically, going to like suggest that, two can play at that game.
Yeah.
And I wrote it like 3 times and I deleted it.
Yeah.
Because I thought, you know what, we just can't stoop
play
to those levels. You're never going to win in the end, even if you want to. So sometimes if you feel like doing something like that, just write it into your notes section.
Yes.
Think about it for a sleep on it, and then you'll probably wake up and be like, no, I don't want to be that person.
A funny one that happened to me was I went to an Acapulco in Mexico, which, like Jeff Berwick and all those guys. But and I traditionally used to wear masks on planes because the air was so it had lacked so much moisture that my nose, my mouth, my throat would be burning after I got off the plane. So while I was going to Mexico and they had all these mask restrictions, I was in this quandary where I didn't want to wear a mask on a bloody plane where normally I would. And, I only wore a mask on one plane flight, but they were really militant. And I just thought, listen, my nose, on the way back home, I thought my nose, my throat are sore, but I really resented having to wear that bloody mask, even though that was something I was doing before COVID. So that was a real kind of interesting psychological mess up. But the other thing which struck me as you were talking as well is we're things are starting to compress or accelerate. Some people call it the quickening, whatever it is. But there that pressure, and you alluded to this, I think, or maybe said it directly last night as well, is very, very important. And what you said before when we were chatting before the talk that you haven't had any vaccinations, including childhood vaccinations, which is absolutely great. I think I did, but those childhood vaccinations, especially the schedule that's in America, which is absolutely as the slow kill. They are doomed. You've got autism that has just gone through the roof. You've got childhood cancers. You've got bowel diseases. You've got allergies. The list is incredible. There was a doctor, the name escapes me just now, in New York, who did a comparison between vaccinated and non-vaccinated kids with those who didn't have them during the lockdowns, and the statistics and outcomes for the unvaccinated kids were off the scale better than the vaccinated ones. But because of the issues that we're seeing with these COVID vaccinations, you probably now globally have the largest number of fully unvaccinated children we have ever seen. Yeah. So even though we're having the fallout and the injuries and the deaths with the shots to date, which are going to be on just this horrendous scale, that's kind of equalized out a little bit in another way. And there's probably more examples of that as well. But again, you alluded to this pressure that just people now have to experience, and maybe we can sit back a little bit because that pressure can actually work to the benefit of humanity.
Yeah, even if it hurts a few people in the process, if
you're already getting hurt was my point. Yeah, that it was just a slower hurt as opposed to a severe hurt.
Yeah. And just to build on your example, I think childhood vaccinations are 40% down or something in Australia.
And pet vaccinations. Pet vaccinations
people just hate vaccines now.
Yep.
Because that's the result of them being tyrannical. I'm telling you, if they were in Australia, if they were more lackadaisy about it, like, oh, you can get it if you want, they probably wouldn't have this vaccine hesitancy.
Yeah.
So they actually created it themselves, which I find quite hilarious.
And again, I worked in intensive care for 10 plus years and in general areas. And one of my biggest hurdles was going down the vaccine rabbit hole. And I initially went down that rabbit hole to talk out against people like me and you now, because I realized that I didn't know what the other side was talking about. And I thought to myself, hey, listen, I'm telling people they should get vaccinated. So why are these people saying you shouldn't? And when I started looking at things properly in a different way, holy cow, that was a huge rug pulled from underneath my whole career, my whole belief system. So it was really profound to go through that for me.
But yeah, I think, so back to your point though, that pressure, so I think when the government or when pharmaceuticals or whatever authorities and these big corporations, when they push too far, it always either wakes more people up or creates strong people because of the reactions. So what they did to me made me stronger. It also was a story that people could use to talk to middle people and explain to them how crazy it is. It worked in my favour, what they did to me, because I had a story to talk about, more content to travel the world with and things like that. So yes, when you see the government pushing their thumb, the misinformation, disinformation bill, etc., I think, don't be worried about it. Some things need to happen for people to wake up. And so I think if you're already awake and you've been through that journey, sometimes you've got to sit on the sidelines and watch things implode, more or less, and be there to pick up the pieces instead of trying to prevent the implosion. Be there on the other side to be there for people who are going to wake up, and they're going to struggle. People who wake up are going to really struggle now because they're going to remember what they did to people, what they thought, all the mean things they said online, all the mean things they did to their families and disinvited them to Christmas and stuff like that. When they wake up, they're going to need our support. And the last thing that we should do is say, I told you so. The last thing we should do is make them feel stupid and things like that. They will be going through a traumatic situation. And if we're there to welcome them with open arms, that's going to be a huge difference. And that's what we need to prepare for.
Yeah, I like that. And for the people who are on the cusp of admitting that they were wrong, just do it. Apologize if you made bad mistakes. Step up, be brave about it. And then for the people who are receiving it, also have better human traits and accept it and kind of have that love and gratitude that people are coming across the line. And it's about, I guess, that inner work of trying to be a better person.
Yeah. So it's not about being right. It's about unity.
Yeah.
And there's just, that's a good one. I should write that. It's not about being right. It's about unity. But anyway, that I have this image in my head of this cartoon sort of short video I want to make, and I don't know how to make it, so maybe someone out there does. But I imagine a group of people or stick figures or something on a white background, and you've got this group of stick figures, and then you bring in these different topics, and they get divided, and they get divided again, and they get divided again, and then you're standing on your own.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not worth fighting about the small stuff.
Yeah.
And this whole concept of guilty by association is total BS.
Yeah.
It's used so that, like, let's say, Dennis, you disagree with me on something really big, but you agree with me on everything else. If I won't work with you because of that one thing, who loses?
Yeah.
We lose.
Absolutely.
Right? And they win because we're divided now. So don't be afraid to work with someone that disagrees with you on a war that's, 20,000 miles away. You know what I mean? Like, let's use the things that unite us and focus on those and celebrate those. And that's it.
And you said something, I know it's jumped up and down as we're talking, but it's a good time to bring this in now. Is that who are they?
Who are they?
Yeah, you said they will win. Who are they? And I've got my own ideas.
I would say the globalists. I say there's definitely people. It's funny because people say, "You really think that there's a small group of people in a room dictating what happens to the whole world?" And I'm like, yes.
We actually know that with groups like the Bilderbergs. And
it wouldn't be hard.
Yeah.
I could do it if you gave me all the contact details of the prime ministers of each country, right? And the big corporations, BlackRock and Vanguard, who basically own everything. You give me those contact details, I could run the world too. It's not that hard. You send one email to the Prime Minister of Australia, they then send it to all the ministers, and then it's not hard. People think that it's this really difficult thing to achieve. It's not.
Especially if you educate all your leaders and put them through a program.
Put them there.
Absolutely. So you're aware of the World Economic Forum and the Young Global Leaders program, and the majority of our politicians in Australia and New Zealand and most Western countries have graduated from there.
So it's not just possible; it's likely.
Well, is it what?
It's happening.
It's happening.
And we know. You've got the World Health Organization, the World Economic Forum, the UN. They're all basically intertwined with the same Bilderberg people, the same corporations, BlackRock, Vanguard, who also own all the media. Come on, guys. It's really not a conspiracy anymore. It's just...
Well, it is a conspiracy.
They're literally right about it.
It is a conspiracy.
No, actually, it is.
Absolutely.
Sorry. It's a conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy theory.
That's right. Conspiracy
theory makes
which is
sense.
two weaponized words again. And I've said this for the last 2-3 years. If people are not conspiracy theorists at this stage, they need to stay asleep.
Well,
you cannot not be a conspiracy
theorist doesn't actually even make grammatical sense, because if you look at the words, if I have a theory about a conspiracy, it means that I have a theory that globalism exists. It's no longer a theory; it's a fact, right? So it is a conspiracy. It's not a theory, it's a conspiracy. So I came up with this term not long ago, and there's a website about it and everything, and I made a fancy video about it, and it got a little bit of recognition, but not too much. But I call myself a rational theorist. So my theories are based on common sense, rational. I don't need to be an expert to be, we should come up with a term called common sense expert.
Just thought about that as you were just saying.
Common sense expert. Yeah. I thought about that like about 20 minutes ago when you said,
about the health side of things.
Yeah. I am a common sense expert, and
a CSE.
CSC. You don't have to be
CSE, common sense expert.
CSE. Yeah, you don't have to be. That's what I find really interesting about the truth or freedom movement as well, is that there's no particular thing that bonds us, like intellect or religion or age or politics. Like, it's all different people. You do not have to be book smart to have common sense.
Absolutely.
I think it has a lot to do with not watching mainstream media. I think it has a lot to do with having lots of different friends and different opinions in your family and being able to discuss them. My family always had dinner together. I was lucky. My mum and dad stayed married. I had a great upbringing, mostly. And, we discussed things and we debated things, and then we still loved each other at the end of the conversation. So I think minimizing mainstream media and having healthy debates is what is going to create a critical thinker, and vitamin D.
Love it. And again, you just open it. We don't want to go down the health route.
Yeah.
But again, going back to the earlier part of the conversation, denying people sunlight.
I know.
I bang on about the dairy industry, for example, just having this toxic swill that's in our lives, and we have to call milk raw milk. These people are inverting everything. Water. Water is horrific. If you're not having filtered water, you're compromising yourself. That's why water is in dams. It's dammed water.
Shampoo, conditioner, sunscreen.
Absolutely. The list goes on and on. And we're so attacked from just about every single corner. Blue light, electromagnetic radiation. No
wonder people are depressed. And things
absolutely. But again, it's such a credit to how strong humans are that they can have these shots. I mean, I'm hearing locally people who are 60, 70 plus who are on their 7th, 8th shot, and they're still walking around the place. So, and one of the things that I think is very, very underrated is the power of the placebo effect. So that belief in these jabs, protecting them from something, that placebo actually offsets some of the danger.
And some of them
as well.
Weren't as potent as others
That's why
too.
Because
of quality control, you can't possibly make billions of vaccines and make them all good.
More than that, some researchers have looked at different batches, and you can see spikes in harm related specifically to batch numbers in certain areas, especially in the US.
So you could get lucky. I don't know about getting lucky with 7 shots, but the body is amazing. Have you ever met someone who was a heroin addict and they've come good?
I worked in addiction
body
for 3 years. Yeah.
So the body is incredible. It's like incredibly strong, but it's also incredibly weak.
When I was in intensive care, we used to come across some return customers, and the how they could bounce back from dying was just phenomenal, and they should never have lived.
Wow.
And then we'd have other people who would get something fairly innocuous and bang, they're gone. And that leads me to another observation, and this is some common sense that I kind of dropped to shock people into a bit of realization. But 20 years ago, I was turning ventilators off on people with the flu. So all they've done now is they've highlighted the fact that the flu can kill people, and they have spun it so it seems like a new thing. It's not a new thing.
No.
We've been turning ventilators off on the flu for decades and decades and decades.
I remember at the very beginning of COVID, I did this really crappy like Excel spreadsheet data, and I did research, and I'm not a researcher, so it was pretty unusual for me. But I found that in 2017, over 3,000 people died from the flu. And, you know, in the height of COVID, like the same amount of people died from COVID and no one died from the flu.
That's why flu disappeared.
So it was the marketing, it wasn't
Yes,
the flu.
it was marketing.
It was all about marketing. If they had done the same thing in 2017, we would have been scared of the flu.
Yes.
But
and who benefits? Pharma. And the and totalitarianism, where they have a reason to lock people down.
Imagine a poor 5-year-old being scared of the flu. Yeah. Like you need to get sick to get strong.
That was one of the most horrific things I saw, and I saw it actually in Cairns up here as well. Was little kids walking around with masks.
Oh my gosh!
And that really sticks a knife. Yeah.
As an adult, do what you want. I had an experience. I was in Melbourne. I was at a shopping, like a Coles or Woolworths or something, and I think the kid was probably maybe 9 or 10 months old, and it wasn't wearing a mask. He wasn't wearing a mask, but everyone else in the shop was. And he was facing the other way, and this little kid did a 180 turn to look at me and gave me the biggest smile I'd seen on a kid in a long time, and it was just because I wasn't wearing a mask. He was just so happy to see my face, and I smiled back at him, of course, and it was this beautiful exchange. But these poor kids, they missed out on a lot.
Yeah. Wow, incredible. So listen, how are we doing? Is there anything else you want to throw out there, or
moving forward? I would like to. Because we're kind of speaking to the echo chamber now.
We're speaking to, that's right. Yeah, so
that's where I'm most comfortable.
So take it where you want.
No, I would just say that if I was to just leave on just a few tidbits of information that I think is important, is that I think, like we were saying before, is sometimes we have to sit back and watch the shit show unfold. I think that that's what we're seeing now. I think that the narrative is crashing. I think that they're in crisis. The globalists are in crisis mode. They don't know how to scare us anymore because it's not working. We're connected so well. We don't care about politics anymore. We're all just like moving out of the cities. We're all working on our gardens and connections and things like that, and it's freaking them out. And they're having a crisis. So you don't have to fight everything. You don't have to do every campaign. You don't have to do every petition. You don't have to do every project. You don't have to go to every protest. Figure out what your skills are, what you enjoy doing, and what you get the most benefit out, and what expectations you can handle. So if you're going to go to a protest to change policy, you're going to be disappointed because we know that doesn't work. But if you go into a protest to have fun, great. Go to the protest and have fun, but do not expect to change politics with it. And that's fine. So focus on where your energy is best spent. And also, you don't need to know everything about everything. Okay, you don't need to know about all the wars overseas. You don't need to watch all the footage because, to be honest, you can't do anything about it. We can't go there and save these children. We can't go there and influence anything. So being bombarded with this information is just going to steal from your present moment, which is what you're living right now. And they are overloading us with information because they want us to be distracted. So focus on your family and your actual surroundings, and focus on building those communities, which is finding out where the meat is, where the vegetables is, where you're going to go if shit hits the fan. Things like that. I think that's where we should be focusing our energy on, and our mental strength.
And you made a great point yesterday that some things, some maybe smaller situations will take 95% of your energy, but then some things that will have more impact might take 5% and 95%. And it may be way better for you to do 10 of the things that take 5% rather than one thing that takes 95% with no result. And that leads me to, and I think I'm going to ask you a favor about this as well, the presentation Stephen and Carolyn did last night in relation to the wind turbines really was shocking. It blew me away. I've got Carolyn booked and Stephen booked for an interview, so I'm going to do a video like this and put his slides in the same way, if I can, that he presented. And we need to be, I think, trying to get more eyes on something like that. And Caroline was saying all she needs is 50 people to put comments. That's not a lot. We had, nearly 200 people, I think, yesterday.
Do that. It's really
so
easy.
so that's an example of us not having to, as you said, know
Spend
everything
all day.
about everything, expend energy. One other thing, 50 people saying, hey, we need to look into this, could make a massive difference.
And it's important because it's your forestry, it's your state, you love the state, it's something that you can focus on and get benefit from straight away and see results straight away. But if you're trying to fight globalism, you're not going to see results right now, and it's too big of a fish to fry, more or less. So I think people should get involved in that. It's very,
Absolutely.
very easy.
And just for people who are watching or listening, the person, Stephen, was a cartographer, and he was able to overlap some of the future plans for the development of wind turbines, and the scale of these things in the tens of thousands of hectares was just mind-blowing. The money, mind-blowing.
For nothing.
The size of one of these turbines, and we're talking
90
about
meters.
90, that's a football field. This is just
one turbine.
One wing of a turbine.
How do they get them up there to the mountains? They have to create infrastructure just to get the wing up there.
Yes, and the roads, and then the erosion of the forest around the roads, and then the levelling of hills. And we're talking about pristine rainforests that don't have cattle, that don't have any Western animals, that have God knows what kind of plants or herbs or rare animals there. I'm kind of very passionate about nature. So that I presume you were as well, but I totally sat there through that presentation, just my was gobsmacked.
Yeah, I was shocked.
I knew it was bad, but
I didn't know anything about it. And what boggles my mind the most is that the people pushing for wind turbines are environmentalists who care about the environment, but they're okay to ruin the environment in order to put the wind turbines there that ruin the environment. It's like a full circle of craziness.
But this is inversion.
They're not
this is what they do. They invert everything, like sexuality and all these things. But the incredible thing to me was the fact that all the environmental legislation can be ignored, or it's null and void, if you have a green energy project. So they're not accountable for.
That makes no sense.
Absolutely, it makes no sense.
It's supposed to be for the environment.
Were you aware of that?
No,
I wasn't aware of it till yesterday.
And they can steal people's land.
They can steal people's land. That's right. So again, these are the kind of things that I feel compelled to shout about.
And I think if you're a local here, like I, for example, this is because I've learned how to focus energy differently as well. What I can do in my position is I can make 1 or 2 videos. I can promote it a few times, and that'll be my contribution. I collected email addresses for Caroline. Last night, that was my contribution. Like I have these people here, and they will do those submissions for you. So here are these people.
We've all got a niche.
I know about it. I can talk about it now.
Yeah.
But I'm going to move on.
Yeah.
And the reason is because I have a different mission.
Absolutely.
But you live here.
Absolutely.
And
I got a studio. I've got cameras.
So you do what you can do.
Absolutely.
Then Caroline and Stephen, they do what they do.
They're on the ground.
If people just did what they could do, we wouldn't be in any of these positions.
It's about taking action, isn't it?
You all have some sort of role to play, and if you have a really busy life, then maybe you can go for the walk with the kids and put letter flyers and letterbox drops, and that's your contribution. Maybe your contribution is to pray or meditate. Whatever it is, figure out what your contribution is and just do it.
But who has a busy life anyway? What are you busy with? Are you working 70, 80 hours a week and then getting home, and to relax you're stuck in front of Facebook or Netflix or I don't know, friggin' the Channel 9.
We can binge watch a series of Netflix, but we can't send an email.
That's right. And then when you're doing your 80, 90 hours a week, and I know plenty of people who are doing this over the years I have, and they've got an investment property, they've got 2 houses paid off, but they never have enough money. Some of them, 2 people I know have 100 grand in mattresses and hidden around the house, and they're still working 80 hours a week. They don't see their children, and they are so busy. Is that living? I don't think so.
You've made yourself busy. You make priorities if you want to make priorities. And I actually saw this random video on Instagram, and I know we kind of need to finish up soon, but this lady who works with dying people, she said that I think the second main thing people say is, I wish I worked less. The first thing they say was, oh gosh, I think I forgot. I should really remember what the first thing was.
I do know of this one as well.
The first thing was, I wish I had been myself and not what I thought people expected me to be. And the second thing was, I wish I worked less. Yeah. So the point is find out what your true person is and be that person, because it's the best way to
But even more than that, be brave enough to be that person, and also be sure enough of yourself that you are good enough to be that person, because it's that doubt, isn't it, and that insecurity, because we're getting slammed with all these negative messages about the fact that we can't and we shouldn't and you're not good. Absolutely.
And even
but
your
yes,
friends do it. Like when I was, before I became, whatever I am now, I tried all these different ideas, honestly. My friends used to just be like, oh, Monica, for goodness sakes, just shut up, like I had all these different ideas. And I even had a close family member say, because I was like, I want to have a voice. I don't know what I'm going to do. And she's like, oh, why do you think you're special enough to have a voice? And I was like, oh, that was really, really hurt my feelings, you know what I mean? But then when I finally had a voice, I was like, so, the point is, you're crazy while you're living out this dream, while you're trying to become something that you feel in your mind, in your heart, in your soul, that you have something to give. You sound crazy until you get there. But when you get there, don't worry, you're not crazy. So just believe in yourself.
And the other thing that's really, really important, I don't know, I've used this so many times over the last few years. There's an old saying, and it's so accurate, but you can't be a preacher in your own village. So you will always be Monica to your family, the crazy.
Oh, yeah,
but
that's true.
when you leave the village, other people want to hear what you got to say. And I experience this all the time with health. People who know me personally, I'll tell them how to fix so many health problems, but because they know me so directly, rarely will they do it. But I'll have clients who will come to me and pay me money, and they will avidly listen, and they will make changes, and the changes will have a dramatic effect on their health. So this metaphor of preacher in your own village is so precise.
That's true. My family don't.
Yeah.
They keep me very humble.
Let's wrap up. I've really enjoyed our conversation.
Oh yeah,
it's been cool. Hopefully people get value and benefits. Again, just refresh people how to get in touch with you.
MonicaSmit.com is everything. I've got events happening all over Australia, and I'm planning on going to Melbourne next, but there might just be a court case that stops me from that next trip. But it's a good court case because I'm in control. So
I'm actually due down in Melbourne, so our paths might even cross.
Yeah.
But for anybody who's watching, you're listening to Dennis from Awakening in Health. Like, subscribe, share, and I've got much gratitude for you today, Monica.
Thanks, guys.
It's a wrap.
Thanks. All right, good.
Awesome.
Let's go to lunch. Oh shit.
Sounds good. Okay, we're still recording.